Vasily Kandinsky, considered by many to be the father of abstract art. You might know him because of paintings like these. But what the hell's going on with these things? That's what we'll be talking about today. Kandinsky was one of the founders of the Blue Rider Group, a club for early abstract artists. The choice to name the group Blue Rider is an interesting one because blue is associated with spirituality. The name also might have something to do with this early Kandinsky impressionist piece called The Blue Rider. Kandinsky was fascinated by the Impressionist movement and its ability to capture emotion rather than just images, but he sought to take this a step further. With color study, squares with concentric circles, Kandinsky wanted to show how different colors used in combination with each other can elicit certain emotions, depending on which box you're looking at. Simple, yet extremely effective. Kandinsky knew that certain colors could represent certain things, and since colors are pretty much the only consistent presence throughout his works, he wanted to put use to this idea. In On White 2, the white background represents life itself, while the color symbolizes the various possibilities in one's life. The black lines are death abruptly striking through life and thus ending all of the possibility. White line depicts the inverse of this, with one stroke of purity and hope breaking through a bleak world. His paintings almost always have a lot of things happening at once, but Kandinsky loved to put the focus on one part in particular, like the blue segment in Blue Segment. Kandinsky believed the world was moving in an atheistic direction, not in terms of belief in a higher power, but more so in that people were becoming less invested in the spiritual. Kandinsky saw his art as a sort of gateway into this spiritual realm beyond our senses, a world he believed was being neglected. Interestingly enough, he most likely had a condition which enabled him to get closer to this perception of a higher reality than the average person. While no one really knew during his lifetime, we can almost be certain that Kandinsky was a synesthete. Synesthesia is a neurological disorder in which the brain perceives senses as one combined sense rather than individual different senses. One might associate certain tastes with colors, or in Kandinsky's case, associate visuals with sound. We can see many examples of this through Kandinsky's own writings, like in his book Concerning the Spiritual in Art. One of these examples is the quote, "White, therefore, has the harmony of silence, which works upon us negatively, like many pauses in music that break temporarily the melody. It is not a dead silence, but one pregnant with possibility. A total dead silence, on the other hand, a silence with no possibilities, has the inner harmony of black. In music, it is represented by one of those profound and final pauses, after which any continuation of the melody seems drawn of another world." This brings us to Kandinsky's compositions. Kandinsky loved using the word composition to describe his art because not only does it refer to the various elements arranged within his pieces, but it also is associated with the act of composing music. He wanted his paintings to give a sense of harmony between the colors and the shapes. His composition series was supposed to be Kandinsky's dive completely into abstraction, and I'd say they were a success. His two most famous composition pieces are Composition 7 and 8. Though, logically speaking, these paintings are very similar, the differences are striking. Composition 7, which Kandinsky himself considers to be his most complex painting, is extremely chaotic and disturbing. Kandinsky felt the state of the world was so dire, and he wanted to represent the impending apocalypse with this piece. I feel nauseous almost looking at it. Composition 8, however, is much more controlled and deliberate. It feels like there is a method to the madness, and in my opinion, it has a much more positive and hopeful feel. This is my personal favorite piece by him. So if you're still asking, what's the point of all this? Thank you for not listening to anything I've just said. But I'll let Kandinsky sum it up for you with this quote: "Lend your ears to music, open your eyes to painting, and stop thinking. Ask yourself whether the work has enabled you to walk about into a hitherto unknown world. If the answer is yes, what more do you want?"